Okay, so here we are, the end of our Joshua study. Now, obviously, we left out some of the later chapters of Joshua because if you read them, you'll find out it's a lot of lists. So-and-so took this country, and these are the members of this tribe, etc. It's not without value, but I didn't think it would probably be helpful as a devotional thing for your abiding time. But I want you to conclude on this passage, Joshua 24, verse 14 through 15. It's almost like a summary of the book. Joshua is told, put away the gods of your fathers. Put away all these false idols. In fact, goes on to tell him, Joshua, choose this day whom you will serve. You're gonna serve them, go do it. But if you're going to serve me, hopefully the book of Joshua has taught you one thing. You must do it wholeheartedly. Half-hearted Christianity doesn't really work. It doesn't pay off. So many people are disappointed with what's going on in their faith. But when you ask them, do you try and keep the whole of God's instruction? They say, oh, well, no, not really. I don't really even try that hard. Here's what we saw in Joshua. When people are not wholehearted, when they're half-hearted in their relationship with God, when Israel doesn't completely follow 100% of God's commands, look to what it leads to in the book of Joshua. Sometimes it leads to military loss. They get routed the first time they attack the city of Ai because they didn't obey God completely. Another thing it leads to is judgment. A guy named Achan, we read his story. He doesn't obey specifically what God commands the Israelites to do, and the result is horrible judgment. It's a disturbing passage of what happens to Achan and his family. And then the third thing we notice is if you don't follow God's instructions carefully with the intent to do them all, you're going to end up getting deceived. You'll get duped. You're going to get tricked, just like the Israelites got tricked by the Gibeonites, because they forgot to follow God's instructions. They didn't consult with him. So that's the difference in Joshua. Wholehearted commitment, God fights with them and they rout their enemies. But when they only do part or maybe even 90% of what God says, but they forget the last 10%, they get routed, they get judged, they get deceived. Think about that in your own spiritual life. The book of Joshua is there as an example to us to say, when we take seriously following God completely, God fights on our behalf. Remember the story when he meets the angelic warrior? Whose side you on? They ask the right question. No, wrong question. It's not whose side am I on, it's whose side are you on? If it's going to be the gods of the Canaanites and your forefathers, follow them. But if it's going to be the God Yahweh, choose this day. And here's how Joshua concludes. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. What a great testimony to one of the greatest leaders who's ever lived. He goes first. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Will you make that declaration today? If so, then studying Joshua has really helped you understand the way God operates.